Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something fascinating, archetypes, mapping our money and our minds.
Okay, let's just jump right in with a big question. What on earth could possibly connect the calculated, spreadsheet-driven strategy of a real estate tycoon with the deepest, most personal vision of a mountaineer who's pushing their absolute physical and mental limits? I know, it sounds like two different worlds, but the answer reveals this kind of hidden blueprint that shapes, well, pretty much everything.
And that connection, it all boils down to this one single powerful idea, the archetype. Now, simply put, an archetype is just a recurring pattern. It's a universal symbol, a model for behavior. You can think of it like a blueprint that helps us make sense of really complex things, whether we're looking at a financial market or looking deep inside our own minds.
So, to really see these patterns in action, we're going to start somewhere very tangible, a very external system, the world of high-stakes real estate investment.
You know, real estate is the largest asset class in the entire global economy. It seems chaotic, right? Just this incredibly complex mix of money flowing around, market cycles, and millions of human decisions. But here's the thing. According to the experts, the behavior in this massive market, it isn't random at all. In fact, it follows very predictable patterns.
And this is where a really practical tool used by seasoned professionals comes into play, the idea of investor archetypes. See, by categorizing investors, not by their personality, but by their structural realities, you can actually start to predict how they're going to behave under different market conditions. It's pretty cool.
Okay, now check this out, because this table really breaks it all down so clearly. You've basically got three core types. First up, the institutional hard money investor. Think huge pension funds. They're using their own massive pools of capital, they have a super long-term view, and they move slowly because they prioritize stability above all else. Then you've got the investment intermediary. This is like your wealth management platform. They're using other people's money, their clients' money, so they have shorter horizons, they tend to follow trends, and they're really driven by fees and keeping clients happy. And finally, there's the direct private investor. This could be a family office or a wealthy individual. Because they're using their own money, they can be incredibly nimble, make decisions in a flash, and are often driven by personal relationships and gut feelings.
So you might be wondering, why do these distinct patterns even exist? Well, they aren't just personality quirks. As you can see here, they're actually shaped by these powerful structural forces. First, their financial structure. You know, how much cash they have on hand. Second, their organizational mission. Are they trying to build wealth for the next 100 years, or are they just trying to hit a quarterly target? And third, the rules and regulations they have to play by. Taxes, laws, the market cycle itself, all these things combine to create the archetype.
So, this is a brilliant framework for understanding markets, right? But, and this is a big but, here is where our whole story takes a very sharp turn. Because these patterns, they don't just exist out there in the world of finance. The most ancient, the most powerful archetypes exist right here inside every single one of us.
So let's move to a completely different landscape and see how this all connects. We're leaving the boardroom and heading to a mountain. We're going to follow an endurance athlete named Sabilla, who took on a challenge with the exact same vertical climb as Mount Everest.
And this isn't just some campfire adventure story. His deeply personal account of this whole experience was actually published in the Jung journal. So his incredible physical journey is framed in an equally profound psychological context.
I mean, the training for this was it was brutal, and it was solitary. He describes it with this raw honesty. He says, many of the longer training sessions included periods where I cried, filled with doubt and profound uncertainty, to say nothing of the ubiquitous physical pain. He was literally pushing his body and his mind to their absolute breaking points. And then, just 2 weeks before the big event, something pretty remarkable happened. Right in the middle of all this intense physical and emotional struggle, he has this powerful dream, and it features the father of analytical psychology himself, Carl Jung. He dreamt that Jung was standing right there in his basement gym, next to his treadmill. And in the dream, Jung just looks at him, makes eye contact, and says, "Don't ever stop doing this. You know why this is important." Wow. It was like a message bubbling up from the depths of his own psyche, telling him that this struggle had a profound, real meaning.
But the story gets even more intense. The night before the actual climb, he's in his tent. He can't sleep. He's totally overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the mountain in front of him. I mean, he is at his most vulnerable. And it's right then that he experiences a profound waking vision.
His vision just unfolded in these 4 distinct parts. It's incredible. First, a large snake appears and wraps itself around him, a symbol of this powerful primal energy. Then a frog and a bird of prey show up, like guides to the worlds below and above. Next, an enormous bear comes forward, symbolizing the raw discipline he's going to need for the task ahead. And finally, he hears a woman's voice, giving him this final powerful assurance: I am here to help you. These were not just random images.
So what was going on? Well, what he was experiencing was the emergence of the archetypes of the psyche. These are the ancient universal patterns that exist in what Carl Jung called the collective unconscious. You can think of it as a kind of shared inherited memory bank for all of humanity, one that's filled with all the symbols and stories that have shaped us for thousands of years.
You know, Jung himself described it perfectly. He said a dream, or in this case a vision, is like a little hidden door that opens up into the cosmic night of the psyche. This is the part of us that existed long before our conscious everyday mind ever did. So the snake, the bear, the guides, these are symbols rising up from that deep, universal place, offering help right when we need it the most.
Okay, so we've seen patterns in the market, and we've seen patterns in the mind. The crucial question is, so what? Why does any of this matter? How do these two seemingly separate worlds actually connect?
This slide right here puts it all together beautifully. This is the aha moment. On one side, you've got your investor archetypes. They describe external patterns of behavior. They are predictive tools you can use for market strategy, and they emerge from systematic constraints like money and rules. Now look at the other side, psychological archetypes. They describe internal, foundational patterns of the psyche. They're symbolic guides that give us personal meaning, and they emerge from the universal unconscious. It's the exact same core concept, the archetype, just applied to 2 different realms. One helps you map out a strategy, and the other helps you map out your soul.
And that right there is the powerful takeaway. Whether you are navigating a multi-billion-dollar real estate deal or you're facing your own personal mountain, archetypes give us a lens. They help us find order and meaning in the incredibly complex patterns of our lives. But it's even more than that. By understanding the internal archetypes that drive us, we get the self-awareness to become better actors in the external world, and we can make more conscious, better choices in everything we do.
So that leaves us with one final thought to take with you. When you look at your own life, your career, your relationships, your biggest challenges, what archetypes, what hidden patterns do you think are shaping your most important decisions?